Welcome to Clean Radio, helping to navigate the journey of recovery by removing the stigma and offering a choice for a new life. With your host, Pat O'Brien.
Radio and television personality. We know him from the World Series, the Super Bowl, NBA Finals, Final Four, U.S. Open. A legend.
And distinguished clinical expert, Andrew Spanswick.
Andrew Spanswick is with me, and there's a reason, because he knows everything and I don't.
I'm Robert Shapiro.
I'm Jack Osborne. You're listening to Clean Radio. I think you're pretty cool, Andrew. Thank you. I like your vibes. And listen, if I was getting loaded, I totally would come to your treatment center.
Clean Radio is presented in part by Pure Simple Juice. Taste the best of what nature has to offer. PureSimpleJuice.com. Addiction is in your backyard. You can join the conversation right now.
Welcome back to Clean Radio for another Sunday night. I'm Pat O'Brien along with Andrew Spanswick. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Good. And that was interesting. It was Barry Robinson's birthday yesterday.
It was Barry's birthday.
Yeah,
That's
so happy
Smokey.
birthday to Barry.
I was Smokey Robinson, by the way. I don't want to judge you.
Well, Barry's his son. He's my best friend.
I love Barry.
Yeah.
Well, we're hoping for Tracks of My Tears because that's the name of our guest book.
No, it's then my tour, Tracks of My Fears, you moron.
He doesn't have a book.
Yeah.
Well, he has
Tracks
books, but
of My
not a
Fears.
new one.
Yeah. I
My
know.
book is Reflections
Oh,
from
we're
Hell,
off
and
to a
you're
good
not a
start,
moron. I
aren't we?
love you, Pat. I adore you. What do you mean what do you do for a living?
This?
And tell anecdotes and what else?
No, and I own treatment centers, and
Oh, you do?
I have
hold on
I
a
have a
second.
hedge fund.
I think we're getting... It's Pat's show. Why are you
No, you're
dominating it?
interviewing me now already.
Well, first you screwed
it's
up
the
the
Richard
introduction.
Lewis show. No, it's Pat's introduction.
Well, Tracks of My Fears is my tour. Let me just get this over with.
Hold on.
Let's get this over
Why
with.
don't you tell... Well,
Let me get this over with in 20 seconds.
Oh my gosh!
Can I-
It's like
can
my
I
third
say your
wife.
name?
I don't like
My third
plugging.
wife. My third wife was Jewish and exactly like Richard, except
That
female.
is an anti-Semitic remark. If I slip,
I've got some housekeeping to do.
Moron.
I was very-
skinhead made
I
an
was-
anti-Semitic, and
By the
I
way,
slipped.
okay, stop.
I slip over
Everybody
that
stop.
ad-lib, I'm
Please
gonna
stop.
kill
I didn't say I wasn't Jewish.
I'm glad.
Would
Well,
everyone
geez.
stop?
I don't look
Okay,
Jewish.
all right,
I
all right.
look
It's
like
Pat.
a
Pat,
himless
Pat.
nephew.
Let's give it up to Pat.
Our guest tonight is Richard Lewis, an outstanding new comedian who's new on the scene. We'll get to him in a minute.
I'm an open mic night tomorrow night.
We'll get to him in a minute, right?
I thought that was
Richard?
tonight.
I'm Pat O'Brien. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
I'm good. I'm being attacked though by our guests.
I know that. I
Before
see
even
did a
that.
start.
Jewish thing.
I did.
No, he came in wanted the pretzel.
Yeah, he came in wanting a pretzel right off the bat. He's like,
There's
"Where's
no
the
green
pretzel?"
room here. I was starving, and there was no bathroom.
There
It
is
was
a green
locked.
room. It's just we didn't
You
have
said-
pretzels.
I said, "Is there a vending machine?"
I got
It's
you.
too
I got you
far
the
away.
nicest
It's
plate
too
ever.
far
I got you
away.
the biggest, greenest plate ever. I brought
Yeah,
you a
with no
tablecloth.
food. What am I, Gandhi's rabbi?
All right. Come on, Pat.
What do you do? Why was Pat coming over to punch me?
I don't know. He's frustrated.
Welcome to Clean Radio.
Okay.
We're on.
Try to
we're
get
on
another guess
station-
as good as this.
Well, let me see if I got my phone here.
Okay, this is
It won't
sobriety
take
in
long.
action. Sobriety in action.
Anybody out there live in Hollywood? We're on all over the country. We're on WR in New York. And for Richard Lewis's friend in New York, he can listen tonight. The Mets lost today.
So glad I schlepped here from Kansas City.
The Mets lost today, but they're still ahead
By a half.
by a half.
And the Yankees are ahead.
The Yankees
too.
are ahead by a half. Seattle, Portland, Astoria, Eugene, all over the country. CleanRadio.com is where you can see us. And our call-in number, Richard, is like calling a New York taxi.
Oh, this is the worst joke
How
in
do
the
you
world.
figure?
It's 800-222-5222.
Why is that like a New York taxi?
Oh, see.
Nobody calls a New York taxi. That's the point. You know who calls it for a taxi?
Can I say
in New
right
York?
now,
Yeah.
he's on fire comedically.
Okay.
If that was a joke, Pat.
No, it wasn't.
really.
If that was a
I've
joke,
been sober
you should
for
retire.
21 years, and
Yeah, I
that
know.
might make me drink again.
If that was a joke, you should retire on this show right now.
It was your line. These guys are dyslexic. He's anti-Semitic. Your jokes suck, and you're blaming me. You screw up the name of my tour.
Oh, my God.
Here it is. Tracks of My Fears.
Richard, my dog is Jewish, and I resent
Shut up
that.
for 1 second.
Okay,
I'm going on the road again
okay.
for the first time in 3 months because I was shooting a series. So I'm playing.
Which is amazing, by the way.
Let me finish, please.
Okay. Sorry that
I want to
I'm
get this over
complimenting
with.
you.
So we
Okay,
can
all right,
have
go,
it.
go.
September 18th and 19th in Rockwell's. It's in Pelham, New York. It's about 20 minutes out of the city. I'm going to start my tour again. The amazing new show for the next 2 years on Stars premieres on next Saturday. Blunt Talk, starring the amazing Sir Patrick Stewart, and I play a psychiatrist, which is a cool role for me. And I have a book out now, Reflections from Hell, with a brilliant New York artist, Carl Totolo. That's it. Boom. Let's talk.
Okay.
You're going to call your tour in Pelham The Taking of Pelham. 1, 2, 3.
How many minutes are left?
The
of these
remake or the
jokes?
original?
The remake was
original with
awful.
Walter Matthau was a
That was a good movie.
Yeah, the
that
original.
was racist movie. You want to talk about racism? And
Who's talking about? I don't. Let's not get political.
Okay, all right.
That's half
It's not
the
a political
country's
show.
racist.
Okay,
All right. If you just joined us, our treatment center number, by the way, you can call 24/7. And you might want to say, what's wrong with Richard Lewis?
What kind of treatment center do you have here?
Yeah, they're everywhere.
What room is it in? I don't need it. I just had my 21st sober
I know you're
birthday.
good. You're here to talk about sobriety and how it's helped
Well,
you
let
make
me have
it
a
through
question
life.
first.
Okay, well,
he's
that's
giving
Pat's
scores.
job.
He's giving like an
Okay, all right.
ESPN
Go ahead, Pat.
scoreboard.
We'll try
So
and
confused.
We're trying to pay attention to Pat.
855-800-8757.
People call and help me, ask me questions. This is insanity.
Or you can call us at 800-222-5222. Richard and I have known each other for 30 years.
Easily.
And we ended up in recovery together. And
Thank God.
we attend quite often. And when we're both in town, we're in the same home group. And we love
Self-help
it.
Group, yeah.
And I just gave you can I say this?
What? You gave me a cake.
I just
for
gave
my
you a cake for
21
21
sobriety.
years. It's pretty good.
Day at a time, minute at a time, sometimes a half second at a time.
Well, how is your recovery? I mean, it's 21 years, but how has it changed?
Well, when I was sober for the first couple of years, my sex addiction kicked in because I was in really bad relationships. So then I had a food eating disorder for a while. I wasn't drinking or using, but my life was still unmanageable. So it took me a while. Stopping, I would have died had I not stopped. Crystal meth was the last drug I took. It brought me to my knees. But then all these defects I had of character, of womanizing and sex addiction and eating disorders and all that, those were really they were flaming because I wasn't drinking or medicating myself with the regular stuff. So I've been working on that. And acting out, and I've been. And this year in particular, I've become more grateful. I've become more tolerant. I think things through before I'm going to do something that's going to make me feel bad. And usually my goal in the morning is not to drink or use, and to go to bed at night not feeling ashamed of what I did during the day as a man, and hopefully not drink or use. But I don't have the cravings for that. But my brain is so screwed up that I could easily do things that are not ethical. Not ethical is the wrong word. I could act out on my wife.
Self-destructive.
I could just be a jerk.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be. I want to be a better man. As long as I'm sober, I want to. I don't want to squander my sobriety. So this emotional hangover when you're sober, but you still do things that make you feel badly, is just as bad as wanting to do another line or drinking. So I've been working on that hard the last couple of years, and I think I'm more at peace than I've ever been in my life.
I'm glad for you. And these things always come back. I'm almost 7 years,
Wow.
and you've known me since I walked in there 10 years ago.
I sure do.
And these things come. Andrews found out some of my stuff came back earlier, and he looked at me like, I'm not going to tell you the topic, but he looked at me like I'm crazy. And the insecurities and the shame and the fear and all that always, I think, is there unless you get up and work on it.
Yeah, I have people I could call who have much more time than me, who are much wiser than me, and I could never do it alone. I was with somebody last night who was cold turkey for 6 years, and I said, I have people that I can call 24/7, and you don't. And I said, I want to introduce you to some sober friends of mine, so you don't feel so alone. And he's going to do it, and that's that's one of the best things about me getting sober was. I don't mean to sound arrogant or anything, but there's been many people in my life who were near death who I turned on to a doctor I go to or introduced to people that are much wiser than me about the disease. I think it's a disease, but I'm an addict. and to see them have birthdays. I mean, I knew, in years or days even, to see the darkness be lifted from those eyes. I mean, I knew Pat before, and he was jittery and crazy. He was like Al Jolson in vaudeville, and now he's just he's very, very spiritual, and he's a different guy. I mean, he still has to work on his stuff like we all do. We're just only human.
Right.
I mean, if a lion got sober and his lioness was sleeping, he'd still probably have intercourse with the giraffe behind a tree because he doesn't have friends to call.
Who was it that said, don't F the elephant in the room, just don't cover the circus? No, F the elephant in the room, but don't cover the circus.
Why don't you practice
Wow,
before a show?
Everything I do is like, speaking of death, Charlie.
I think actually, Pat.
Speaking of death, who mentioned death?
Oh,
He
don't
did.
bring up death. Don't bring up death.
He just brought it up out of the blue.
Why would
These
you bring
segues
up,
are like Jack Ruby shooting Oswald.
You have Richard Lewis in the room, and you bring up death.
He brought it up.
That's like the worst thing that you can. This is gonna be torturous.
No.
It's gonna be bad.
No, I'm cool, man.
No.
You're good with death
I
now.
have a fever now, a raging fever.
All right, well, guess what? We have nothing for that either.
Yeah.
Now, listen.
I got a pain in my side right here.
You don't have a vending machine with medicine,
I'm
do
such
you?
a.
Yeah,
I do.
of course.
I
Well,
do.
we used to.
I used to have a
Listen.
walk-in medicine chest in my first house.
Really?
Now, listen.
Okay.
Speaking of death, our good friend Charlie Hayden died not too long ago.
Arguably the greatest upright jazz bass player of all time.
One of the greatest jazz players. And he referred to you in an article that I read as like a jazz player, that you never know what's coming. There's a rhythm to it. Some people like it, some don't, but they all get to love it.
No, they don't all get to love it, and I have about 25,000 hours of material on my computer, and after I stopped doing specials, because you got to do the same thing for months, and you go on, and then the HBO or Showtime or whatever, they come down, comedies. I couldn't take it anymore. So now I just go on stage and ad-lib half the show and hole up in my hotel room in every city and go over thousands of premises and hope some stick. I've been doing that for the last 10 years. I did it, at Town Hall and played Carnegie Hall. Carnegie Hall, that was back, I wasn't sober then, but I only had
How'd
one.
you do this drunk?
I didn't do it drunk.
Oh, okay.
That's not fair to say. I wasn't stumbling around like Bluebeard the Pirate. I mean, I did 60 Lettermans. I had one too many wines on occasion, but that was like Super Bowl for me.
I apologize.
Anything but love. 4.5 years. I was sober when we shot, and 10 years of Curb Your Enthusiasm, and now I'm doing a show. Well, I'm sober now, but I was sober during Curb. But no. When I was off, my life was unmanageable. But I took my work seriously. But to be truthful, in one of the peaks of my career, I was so out of control with drugs that I stopped stand-up for 3 years. And I lost a tremendous amount of income because it was at a peak of my career at that point. And I was a sucker for people calling me up because they would say, I'm going to be homeless if you don't give me 10 grand, blah, blah, blah. I gave away hundreds of thousands of dollars when I could piss away that kind of huge amount of money. But when you give away money like that, it's kiss it goodbye,
Rule number 1 is stay sober. Rule number 2, Andrew, is never loan anybody in the program money. I mean, that's not why
it wasn't
we're
a
there.
program, just people calling me, and they knew I was a sucker.
I never loan people money unless I don't expect to get it back.
Really?
Yeah,
Can I borrow
that way.
$100?
No.
I don't need the bread. At least
I'm Pat O'Brien. Andrew Spanswick. Richard Lewis is our guest, and has a new show that
Andrew
begins.
Spastic?
Spastic, yes, no, Spanswick.
Spanswick.
What nationality is that?
English.
Oh, look! You look English.
I was born in England. I was born in Cambridge, England.
Holy Procol Harum!
My mother's favorite song was Procol Harum.
Whiter Shade of Pale?
Yeah, favorite song.
It was also, it was one of the great songs of all time.
Richard Lewis was born in Brooklyn.
Don't start doing this Wikipedia crap because I'll bolt.
This is not Wikipedia.
You know what they say?
Somebody from the New York
but people can call in and go, Richard Lewis raises crows. And they put that crap in.
Somebody called me from the New York Times to do a story on me not long ago, and they said
Crows?
Her opening line, this is the New York Times, was, I've been reading your Wikipedia, and I said, that's the end of this conversation.
That's right.
Edgar Allan Poe brought you to crows. I'm just putting it all together. The tangential thinking wasn't as tangential as I thought.
Well, what?
That was a good sentence. If you're in a mental hospital.
If you want to talk to us, and by the way, if you call, you'll probably not get a word in. But
yes, you will. I will listen. You guys
you
interrupt
quiet
me
for a second.
I want people to call.
800 222-5222. Andrew, do you see this a lot? Andrew's been an addiction.
Good. Get some second-grade teacher in tomorrow and next Sunday and see how it goes. You're going to be praying I come back.
All right, I'm taking a
Maybe
call.
you'll have some pretzels.
If you allow us, we'll get Andrew to
I'm taking
talk.
you out for
Don't blame me. You
Richard,
guys are interrupting
Richard,
me.
I'm taking you out for pretzels right after the show.
Yeah, bite me.
Mike, how hot? Mike's on right now. Mike, how hot is it in the valley?
It's so hot that I'm not taking my dog to dog park. That's how hot it is.
Wow.
Where are you going to walk the dog, Mike?
I let him go in the backyard, and but I don't want him to be a hot dog. So you could use that, Richard.
I already have. I opened with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Do you clean up his mess in your own yard, or you like it to leave it out there? Because I have a dog. I'm learning. Do they like to smell it?
I do have a poop scoop and sand for him, and I taught him personally how to go to the sand, and I praised him for being a good boy.
what's your question for Richard?
All right. First, I want to thank Richard for his share, because I related to when you said not being able to go to bed, liking myself, and the specifics of womanizing and food and stuff. It was like I was nodding my head, so I really appreciated your share.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and for letting me get to know you. And when you talked about loaning people money, I wanted to hear you more before I called in, because I wanted to talk about resolving resentments of the past, because I'm dealing with that. Mm-hmm. But you talked about giving money away, essentially, and maybe in Hollywood, some people have burned you as well. And
In Hollywood?
Hollywood. I'm being burned right now.
Right.
In fact, this chair is on fire.
Those are things that might lead someone to have to make a phone call if they're in sobriety, or keep you up at night, like that guy, blah, 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 and the head starts going. What do you do to stay in recovery, or to not let your head start spinning, to deal with the resentments?
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of issues you mentioned. Forget Hollywood. Hollywood is relatively ruthless. I have some great friends and not great friends, and they basically want the best talent for the least amount of money. So people usually feel burned financially, and there's so little work, particularly here in L.A. People are moving. Where's the series shooting? In Afghanistan. Oh, God.
Good tax credits.
But I was talking mainly when I was really bottoming out. People knew that, and people who weren't friends knew I was in a weakened position and would call me and say, I'm being thrown out of my house. I need a mortgage payment, and I was so screwed up that I felt, and I was such a people pleaser as well, that I gave away tons of money that if I had been sober, I would have said, hey, listen, I don't, charity begins at home, pal. I'm not Gandhi here. I have, now.
Well,
when it
Gandhi
comes to,
didn't have any money.
No, but he
gave everything away.
No, but he also didn't have a good buffet on Sunday. I went there once. It was horrible.
All right.
Just plates.
Hey, Mike.
No, can I just finish?
Well, yeah, he can listen.
I just wanted to say, well, I know it's your show, but I'm a guest.
I like listening. Hey, Pat, how are Lakers going to do?
Lakers are going to be okay.
Nice segue, by the way.
They're going to win.
I tried to kill myself in 1979.
Over under.
How are the Knicks?
28 wins.
No, I was going to say
Maybe
26.
we should talk about tangential thinking and what.
How many wins for the Lakers?
26.
34.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. Mike, thanks for calling. Got a lot of calls.
Thanks
Gotta go.
for taking my call. Thank you, Richard.
Yeah,
Thanks,
stay healthy,
Mike.
buddy.
Thanks. Stay
I
good.
think the big thing, though, for Mike, though, the issue of resentments. I mean, one of the big things to always remember is that, things that you can't change, you got to let them go, and you just move on. You make better choices going forward, and then,
you can't
resolve them.
Right, and one thing, and I heard this, it's probably one of these cliches, that a resentment is like taking poison and hoping the other person dies. It just eats you up inside. So you let it go, but you have to have parameters. You got to say, you know what? Blood isn't thicker than water. Even with family, go, you know what? This is not a healthy relationship. I forgive you, but I can't hang with you.
Yeah, you
That's
set
what
boundaries.
I've been trying to do.
Set boundaries. Protect yourself.
We got a lot of calls, but hold on a second. Do you find this a lot, Andrew, that people that come into this, and Andrew's an addiction specialist for decades.
He told me that when I came in 10 times.
Oh, he did not. But
Okay. All right.
what do you do when people come in and you or Dr. Cole or somebody over there meet with in all your places when they're stuck on resentments, but they're stuck on their addiction?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that often it takes time, first of all, just to sober up. I think the process of detoxing and then just getting through like an initial sort of treatment beginning is really, like I said, just the beginning. And Richard, you were talking about this earlier, that it took, just because you stopped using didn't mean you dealt with your problems. You had problems that came on after that. So the problem with drug addiction, alcoholism specifically, is you get this weird developmental delay where all of a sudden you've been using and you're sort of stuck there with the best coping skills you had at that point, which were to use drugs and alcohol.
Right.
Then you take away your best coping skills, and then what are you stuck with? Really yourself a long time ago without any skills. And so the process of learning skills other than other maladaptive skills like gambling addiction or sex addiction or something else, acting out food, you have to work on yourself. You have to work on how to live life in a productive and happy way.
Well, this is a jarring segue, but when my friends and family finally took, my sister in particular and good friends, knocked down my hotel wall and sent me said, if you don't go to this doctor, this specialist, we're through with you.
Right.
We don't want to see you die. I did go, but there was no way when I was in that doctor's office 21 plus years ago that I thought that I could go every day,
Yeah,
without and so I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
They shipped me off to Hazelden.
Yeah.
I bolted in 2 days because I was ashamed that people recognized me. It was the disease saying, you don't want to stop drinking and doing blow.
Right.
Then I entered different programs at home and self-help groups, and I still slipped. And then the second slip was my bottom, what I held up in my in my home for a week doing crystal meth, and people coming over said, you're going to die if you don't stop. And then I looked in the mirror and I go, I don't want to die putting this crap up my nose. And I called friends and they took me to the hospital, and that was it, August 4th, 1994. But it takes you really have to be ready to want to say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, because I couldn't take it anymore. My life was totally, our lives are out of control. And people know when you know when your life is unmanageable. And when you know that, there are answers out there.
Yeah.
The doctor knows.
Herschel from New York, WOR. Go ahead. You have a question for Richard?
Yeah, I want to know if you guys have any experience with computer game addiction.
Computer game addiction?
It's actually the big thing right now. There was just a Vice special, I think, that came out on. They have treatment centers in China now for.
You're an addiction therapist. This is before I knew it was addiction. I said, I'm doing this 5-6 hours a day. I'm at school, at work. I'm just burning through my time.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to do these online games.
Okay, hang on a second. Hersh. All addictions start at a root of a compulsive disorder. So it doesn't really matter if it's a substance or a process. So what's going on is that your brain is actually releasing dopamine based on certain things that happen. So it could be taking drugs, which would do it more effectively. But if you're so involved in gaming that you can't stop and you're missing things in life that you normally wouldn't, that means that you're compulsively driven to do that over your own best interests. And you can't control that compulsion easily. So that's something that you need help with. And there's a lot of therapists that use things like cognitive behavioral therapy to redirect you and move you away from those maladaptive ways of coping and dealing with stress and anxiety, which is gaming, and back into your real life.
That's a big thing now. You're right, isn't it? And there's a lot.
It's huge. I mean, it's becoming larger and larger. Just internet addiction in general. I mean, and you sit with anybody. It's horrible. I have meetings or whatever, and people are sitting there. Everybody's on their phone. I'm like, could everybody please just put their phone down for 5 minutes and listen to what I'm saying?
That's me. Thank you, Herschel. I'm reluctant to take this call, but I will. Vanessa, you're on with Richard Lewis.
Why are you reluctant?
Why are you reluctant to take my call?
Because it says, I met Richard Lewis in New York City.
Yes, I did. And I wanted to thank Richard because,
What hotel was that, Vanessa? I'm curious.
What's that?
No, I'm joking.
Or an elevator. It could be an elevator.
Well, it was on the street. I think it was around like 57th Street. And
What year? Could you just give me the year? Was it after 94? Because you sound young.
No, it was before.
Uh-oh.
So what hotel was it?
It wasn't a hotel.
Well, I was a sex addict. I'm sure you're very attractive, and
don't abuse our callers.
I'm not. I love
listeners.
Vanessa and I. We had a deep conversation.
No. Actually, we passed on the street, and I stopped you, and you were wearing this like suede, like almost Native American jacket,
like a black. Yeah.
It was so gorgeous. But I recognized you, and I said, "Hey." And I said, hey, and you looked at me, and you knew that I recognized you. I was a kid, and you went like this, you put a finger to your lips and you go, shh. Don't tell, because then everybody else
don't
knows.
wake up New York?
Right. And it was, you were just so hilarious.
Was I nice to you? I was nice to you.
I always ask
That's
that.
the deal. You can be an alcoholic and still be a decent human being.
That's true.
In many more moments than you're out of your mind. But thank you, Vanessa. I'm glad that you feel
I
that
just
way.
want to say you're so talented that had me in pain. It was so funny. And
That's
all
a
you
lasting
did was
impression,
put
we
your finger
call
your
it.
lips.
All right, Vanessa,
Thank you,
we got to
Vanessa.
go. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Vanessa.
Thanks,
Now,
sweetheart.
Delvin and Tim, stay on the line. We're going to get you when we come back. Richard Lewis is our guest. That's what I always ask people. I'm writing another book called "I Was a Tourist in My Own Life."
Wow, it's
and
a great title.
when people say to me, I met you, before I got sober. My first question, because I'm so self-absorbed, is I always say, "Was I nice to you?"
Yeah, of course.
And
we're
thank God they
ashamed.
always say nice. Devin and Tim are going to be on along
Are they
with
a
Sarah
ventriloquist?
Gilbert.
Is that a ventriloquist?
I think it's
act or a team?
it's a
I feel like
doubles
I'm
act.
with a ventriloquist. We'll be right back.
How dare you?
Don't let addiction to drugs or alcohol steal another year of your life. Clean Treatment Center provides world-class addiction assistance that also treats the underlying causes and provides vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean. Live, kind, professional help is standing by to provide immediate assistance or to simply answer questions and provide guidance. If you or someone you care about is suffering from addiction, take action now. Log on to cleantreatmentcenters.com. That's clean with a K.
Welcome back to Clean Radio on a Sunday night, and we're happy to be with you. Hope you are with us. A lot of calls, and we'll get to all of them. We're at cleanradio.com. You can watch this tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, tomorrow. We got a great overnight editor.
I don't know why that's happening.
Need a doctor, Pat?
Facebook.com/cleanradio. 800-222-5222 is our call-in number. Let's go to Devin and Tim. And our guest is Richard Lewis. Devin and Tim.
Hi, how are you guys?
Hi, girls. Women.
It's just one girl and one guy, but that was funny when you thought we were ventriloquists. I just wanted to call.
See, I did tell a good joke.
Yeah, Pat wrote that for me.
No, that was hilarious.
I know.
I saw your new show, Richard Lewis, on
Stars
last night, and it was great. You do a great job as the therapist for
Yeah, I
that
know.
guy.
Thank you. I think it's a great show. I'm a fan. Like I was a fan of Curb. I'm a fan of this, and I get crazier and crazier in the cast. I'm just very grateful to be on a show with such great actors and great writing. So thank you.
It's an amazing show, and I can already tell it's going to do great. And Curb is like the best show ever created of all time. So
But it was a different game. It was ad lib. It wasn't scripted. It's it's different. But
that is the most. I mean, I couldn't even imagine being able to be around Larry David. Is he like that actually in person? I mean, just in his daily life.
well, I was born in the same hospital bed, not bed,
What?
room. Easy. I was the youngest gay baby. No, I was born in Brooklyn Jewish Hospital because I was cesarean and I was premature, so I had to be on one of these hot dog machines to get bigger. And Larry was born, and he tried to hang me with my umbilical cord. We started out horribly.
I mean, that is just. If I could just be around you guys, I probably would feel normal for once because I understand the comedy, the humor, just feeling awkward and everyday life. I love it.
Let me ask you a question. What happened to Tim? Did you tape his mouth like a terrorist?
No, you know what? I made it. I said he was going to be on the show with me because he recently got sober about 6 months ago. So
Hey,
it was
mazel
kind of,
tov.
That's good for him.
yeah, so it was like fate that we tuned into the radio. We're just driving to Palm Springs right now. But I thought he would have the balls to talk to you, but I guess he's stage fright.
Wait, you didn't think he had the balls to talk to me, or you?
Well, where is he?
Yeah, I have the balls. He's sitting right here next to me.
Well, why
yeah,
doesn't
with
he
tape
talk?
on his mouth.
There's a lot of flags on this guy.
Who do you think runs this relationship?
Who's the control freak in this car?
Oh, it's always me. I know.
Tim,
It's just me all the time.
Tim, congratulations.
Tim, tell her to breathe. Tell her to breathe, Tim. Just tell her to breathe.
Thank you.
There's your opening. See?
All right.
13 years I was doing meth and managed to get off of it on my own.
Wow. Well, good for you.
Good for you to saw the light.
Any way anybody gets sober, I'm happy for that.
Whatever works, man.
Yeah, whatever works. Nobody here is fighting one way or the other. We're all here to try and get people better. So.
Okay, guys, I got to go. Thank you.
Yeah, safe driving.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Keep it up, Tim.
Blunt Talk is on Stars and
Saturdays at 9.
I know, Saturdays at 9.
I'm just reminding you, have a lot on your mind.
I have nothing on my mind.
Yeah, you shout out names of score in the middle of a sentence. You'll go Toronto 3, Yankees 1. I mean, you scare me.
That's for our WOR fans in New York. In case you're
WOR. I was on that station. I grew up with WOR. It's one of the most historic stations in the world.
And we're on there right now.
Yeah.
Hey, New York, I'll be there soon. I'll be out right outside New York, the 18th and 19th in Pelham at Rockwell's. It's
How far is Pelham up there?
It's about 15 minutes from the city.
Oh, it's right there.
Yeah.
Joining us now is our social media director. You like this? It's Sarah Gilbert. Hello, Sarah. How are you?
Wow.
Hey, did I
Sarah.
get a promotion? I'm a director now. That sounds awesome.
You are, actually. Why
I guess
not?
according to Pat.
I feel like I need to get more excited. Devin was just so excited. I feel like I need to pump it up.
it's
But we just
okay.
don't get that excited up here in Seattle. We're a little more,
Richard just got very glum.
You
so
frame your career. You frame your career on not getting so excited.
How is that? I don't
you
understand
just
what that
gotta-
means.
You just gotta
Well, you can't
do your
be.
thing.
You can't be. You know, I've done World Series, Olympics. I was never nervous or excited. Excited to be
Hey,
on.
Aaron,
You just got to kind of be. You just got to kind of be yourself.
Well, that's-
so.
Sarah,
That's
we
when-
need some direction. What's the questions from social
We
media?
have some great questions. So Terry on our Clean Radio Facebook page asks, oh, by the way, we will be sending you some swag. She asks, do you think the moderation program for drinking works?
No.
Well, it depends on what kind of problem you have. So my answer to that is that if you actually are already an addict and an alcoholic, then you're not going to have success with that. In fact, many people have had really horrible things happen by trying moderation.
You're like death.
Like death, yeah. Car accident. Actually, the one that founded the movement actually died in a car accident while she was drinking.
You can't
So-
put a number on beers
Yeah.
and wine and
The problem,
like, can I have
but
three?
like
Yeah.
I've said, I mean, you also have to be reasonable and say there are people that can just use alcohol and drugs. There are people that can abuse them, and there are people that are addicted to them. And what's dangerous is if you're using and then abusing, you're going to end up addicted one way or the other, probably. So there's different things. There's some people that genetically have a predisposition where they're right off to the races and they're an addict right away. And there's some people that slowly grow into their addiction. And there's some people that age out of abusing drugs. So to be honest, moderation is an option. But you have to be with a therapist that really understands how to make really concrete social contracts with you as the patient,
Right.
in which limit your use. And if you break that, then you have to realize that you're willing to go to an abstinence-based type of
Can
model.
I just be clear about what you're saying? Something?
Sure.
You're not basing this theory on that everyone's a drunk or an addict and that moderation probably won't work. You're saying because I know most of my friends can have a bottle of wine at dinner and they're not drug addicts
Right.
or alcoholics.
Yeah.
But I was an alcoholic,
Yeah.
and I was in denial. So I would say, if I drink, when you start doing, I'll drink Monday, not Tuesday.
That's
the,
it.
Yeah.
I'll watch.
That's when you
if
go-
the Mets are at home, I can drink. If when the away game,
All that
that's when
bargaining.
you know
Yeah,
all
that's
that
bargaining.
bargain. Then you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
you're
so people
drunk.
use, right? Like you go out and you have a couple, and maybe you can be abusively using even the first time you drink. You can go out and get drunk and
a bad
fall
binge
over.
at a wedding, but
Right.
not again.
So that's negative, but that doesn't necessarily make you an addict.
Exactly.
But
Right, so,
I've never asked you about this, Andrew. Sarah, hold on. I drank crazily for many years.
Yep.
And I never drank at work, so I was able to do my job well. I never got fired or anything. But then, and Richard knows this, and then it just, at age 56, it hit me. And then it really hit me at age 60. It just, and to me, it came out of almost nowhere.
Well,
because I was drinking,
although it
but
took all that time, and that's what happens is you drink or whatever your substance or processes we're now seeing with gaming addiction, with video games and stuff like that. As you repeatedly do something over and over and over again, it changes the chemistry of your brain. Some people's brains are wired to immediately respond to substances like alcohol, and they'll be an addict from day one that they drink. They're exposed to alcohol. They don't have the enzymes. Their brains are wired very specifically for that. Other people progressively move. They build tolerance, and then the pathways in their brain build up where they need that substance to get that, just to feel normal, far less even drunk or better. And so at that point, they're addicted psychologically and sometimes physically to that drug. And rewiring your brain over time and having that adjust and heal itself takes a lot of time.
But I'm sorry.
Yeah, and they found that exercise actually is the best thing to do to actually improve your brain's health once you've already been in an addictive environment.
That's what Alice Cooper did. He took all his energy, and he's not. He took all his energy.
Golf, but it's hard to play golf with a rattlesnake around your neck.
All right, Sarah, what else you got?
Jacob asks, what do you think is the most dangerous drug out there and why?
The one that'll kill you.
Yeah, that's cigarettes. Because more people die from that than anything else.
And it's one of the hardest things to get off.
Hardest ones to get off. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
One out of every two
forget
people
that.
die from cigarettes that smoke.
Yeah, people really forget that nicotine and caffeine are really addictive substances
Yeah,
too.
that
so
doesn't
I
mean
think
you
it's-
should shoot heroin and say, but I'm not going to smoke anymore. You know.
Right. No, I mean, they're all dangerous if used improperly, but cigarettes, I don't see any redeeming quality to them. So.
Do we have time for one more?
Sure.
Okay, so speaking of heroin, we have Lisa asked.
Nice
and we always
segue, by
get
the
one-
way.
Yeah, that's right. I'm
It's
going
like
to
a
use that
puppet show.
tonight.
Here come the heroin brothers. Da, 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 da.
No. Heroin's a huge deal up here in Seattle, which I'm sure it is down there too.
Huge
but
deal
Lisa asks-
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, she asks, how can I help get my brother off heroin once and for all? He's done treatment and detox multiple times, but always seems to go back.
You know, that's something that I hate that people do. Like, how do I get something solved once and for all on an illness that's chronic, progressive, and we don't have a cure for? So it's not about how do I get them to stop once and for all. It's how do I build the best relationship not with them so that I can support them in not using. And if they do start using, how is that relationship good enough to get them to stop using again as quickly as possible and cause as least damage to themselves and others once they relapse?
You know, New Hampshire is the #1 state in heroin and also the #1 state in voting. You'd never think of New Hampshire as a hotbed of heroin.
Yeah, but they're voting for Dwight Eisenhower when they write that in.
Sarah, give us the rundown.
Okay, you can find us on Facebook.com/Clean Radio and @Clean Radio on Twitter.
Well, we like Ike and we love Sarah, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, guys.
See you
Bye.
soon.
Our guest is Richard Lewis, who's got just a. You know, I
One
love
of the co-stars of Blunt Talk on Stars Saturday.
I'm going to get to that.
I'm just saying, I'm proud to be with Sir Patrick Stewart. You know,
Do you
he
have to call him sir?
He was on the Enterprise, and I never saw Star Trek. I thought he was the CEO of the rental car dealer.
I went on a date with some chick that kissed him. That's as far as I get with that.
Well, far-out story.
Blunt Talk. I really.
Can I have a bootleg of that?
Yeah, sure.
Hold on.
Sure.
I really liked you as Charlie Sheen's
Accountant.
Yeah.
I thought Chuck Lorre was going to bring me back. You know, I got to tell you, thank you.
should have.
It was 2.5
You and I
minutes.
see Chuck all the time.
Yeah, well, I see him a lot, and I called him. I said, Chuck, people are telling me, stopping me in the street. I had 2.5 minutes to do 8,000. I'm not a physical comic. I mean, in terms of pouring things.
Did you make up that glass thing?
Well, they had it written in, but it was still
embellished,
difficult to do. People to this day say the show's, you know, Charlie Sheen's 59 now, and I said, no, the show's not, But I said, Chuck, I'm a crazy paranoid accountant. Sheen, it's perfect, but he never brought me back. But
He's always looking out
a
his
genius,
window.
and he didn't need me.
But
Thank you for that. Was a good segue.
No,
Pat, you want a gurney?
This
You
is
need a gurney now?
Segues with Richard Lewis.
Segues. It was Pat out of the blue. What was the name of that show? I don't even know the name of the show anymore.
See, this is Alzheimer's with the three of us.
when
Not me, babe.
when
Sure,
the
I was
Ghost
attacked.
Whisperers came out, when I was
When
at
what did- what? I'm sorry.
Ghost Whisperers.
Yeah.
Ghost Whisperers.
We did a series on one of those stupid shows, Entertainment Tonight or The Insider, and we were asking people if they've ever channeled anybody, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's all right. And Bob Newhart, who's just a lovely man, but I said to him, and he has the comedic style and the cadence of nobody's better or nobody was better.
I don't
Is
know
better.
if nobody's better, but he's brilliant.
He's good.
He's one of the icons.
So I said, this is kind of off the chart remark, but have you ever wanted to channel somebody? And he paused and looked at me and said, I had this accountant.
Wow. That's cool.
It was really great. Anyway, Richard Lewis is our guest, and also he'll be. So why didn't they bring you back on?
It's Chuck Lorre's show. He had 18 shows at once. You know, maybe he doesn't need me anymore. It was just a great time to play that role. It was a great role, but it was just, a guest shot one day, being out, and I'm glad I'm on it. They show it all the time, and I get $4.08 a year on it.
By the way, I just got a royalty check for $3.
Hey, it's better than no royalty
But they
check
keep
at all.
coming. Mailbox money. I love
I got
it.
a condom from China. The only condom there. That was a good joke if you're like on the way to
Wow, I was
death
gonna
row.
say.
I'm just know why I said that.
Better if you
I said that.
Bought a condominium.
Comedy gold with
I
Richard
said
Lewis.
that to show you what I've been experiencing with you for the last 30 minutes.
Well, did
Your
it work?
jokes have
Wow.
made no sense.
Did this condom
That's called.
work?
You know what that's called, Richard?
What?
A paradoxical intervention.
You know something? You're a big shot,
Yes.
and you throw around these phrases.
I know, isn't it great?
It's fantastic.
Fantastic.
How do you and Howard Stern get along?
I've known him for 35 years. It's a little argumentative for me sometimes.
But not anymore. He's changed a little bit.
Yeah, I'm happy for him.
He ran my voicemail every day.
What do you mean he ran your voicemail? That.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, well, that's his show. That's his
Yeah.
demographic. I get it.
And by the way, I remember Trump called me, and he said, "You're going to be bigger than ever." You know.
Yeah, that.
But I like Howard. My book's coming out in December in paperback, and I'm going on there. I think I'm going to bring Andrew with me when I do that. And you'll be in Pelham, New York.
My mother would be horrified.
And the book is Reflections from Hell. It's a really cool little book. But I'm really more excited that I have 21 years clean and sober. That's pretty cool, man.
That's the big thing. And by the way, we always applaud the one-day people because 24 hours is the record.
It reminds us who we were, man.
And it reminds me and you and those of us in there of who we were. That's why I go to meetings so much, because I can be I had a horrible week this week.
Sorry.
Having my mind go around and around.
You're writing jokes?
He's got some issues. We're working on them.
Oh, okay.
Well, I had one issue. God, you know what?
You sure you want to hear that?
I
you
hate
want people in Finland to hear this?
No, but I mean, and so I'd go to meetings, and when
You're not sleeping with seals again, are you?
No, Croft.
Seals and Croft.
Want to hear a great joke?
Yeah.
George Miller, who was a druggie.
By the way, that was a great joke.
Was a
Go ahead.
druggie. And one of the great joke writers of all time, and one of David Letterman's best friends, and was on the show like 60, 70 times. But he was clearly a drug addict, and everyone knew it, and he was a beautiful guy, and he passed away cancer early. And he was opening up for an old folk rock group, Seals and Crofts, who were fabulous back in the 70s. And he had to do a half hour, and then they came on. Then he had to introduce them, and he was so high one night, he says, "And now I'd like to bring on Arts and Crafts." and it got canned immediately. But it was worth it for that joke.
Arts and Crafts.
Arts and Crafts.
Greatest comedian ever?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
I got
Pryor.
Richard Lewis here. I want to ask one question. This is my one question.
Sure.
Your
One
comedy.
question?
This is the main question I want to ask. I want to make sure I get it in before our show ends because it's going to end too fast here. So, your comedy is based on you being completely insane in a way.
No,
right?
I unravel my
You unravel your
darkest
neurosis.
fears. Otherwise, I feel I'm a liar.
You take neurosis and you project it out onto the world.
I try to reveal that my darkest secrets in public. That makes me
Let him
feel
ask
good.
the question.
Well, because he's
we're
he's
good.
wrong.
He's answering the question
Thanks.
in real time.
Boy, Pat, you're like a you're like a high school principal. Yeah, did you go to? You went to a parochial school, didn't you?
Of course.
Where's your ruler? And put on a habit and smack me in the knuckles, bastard.
God, you are. Your fetishes continue.
See how mellow I am sober?
Jeez.
The fetishes continue.
I got the answer. I'm good.
That's
I'm
your
good.
You got
fetish.
your answer?
Yeah, I got my answer.
What's Richard Pryor, right?
Lenny Bruce opened the door for everybody, and he was a genius, and also he opened the door for everyone. So he's the most important, and Pryor is arguably the greatest. He's to me the greatest stand-up comedian that will ever live.
And even I was with him in his final days, and he actually said to me he could barely, he could barely talk, he could barely move, and he says to me, he's where. And I'm not making fun of him. He just couldn't talk.
Yeah, he was really sick.
And I said, "What?" He goes, "No more hookers and cocaine for you." But I loved him. I really did love him.
Not? He was.
It took Richard Pryor on his deathbed to get that message across. Is that what happened?
Well, I never.
You know, in the last 10 years of Jonathan Winter's life, who had 53 years of sobriety, by the way. We were best friends. We had similar upbringings and a lot of similarities.
And brilliant.
He's a genius, the greatest improvisational comedian
Ever.
of all time. He's like Picasso. And you should go on YouTube and just put in Dean Martin Show or Jack Parr or The Tonight Show, and you'll see why he was just unbelievable. And we spoke almost every day for 10 years. And, oh, man, I'm losing the thread of this, man. Oh, wow, I had a great thing about sobriety with Jonathan. Yeah.
He had 53 years.
Yeah, I know. He had 53 years, and but I lost him.
Okay.
man.
It's okay.
That's
We'll
all
come
right.
back.
But 53 years, that's a hell of a number. I don't think I've ever known anybody with 53 years.
No, I certainly.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Does it get easier?
It gets easier not to want to drink or use, but I have to work on my. If your goal is to be a better person, a better man or a woman, and while you're sober, there are tools out there to help you become a better person. And again, I went to bed sober, feeling like a piece of crap, because I was cheating on people, I was juggling relationships, I wanted more, it was never enough, I was dishonest. I wasn't dishonest, and I wasn't a bad guy. My amends were pretty easy to do. People who I called, like even in my biggest cross addiction was sex. But it was consensual, so I called, and they were good relationships.
So you had a lot of rationalizations as to why it was okay.
That's not a rationalization.
Yeah,
they wanted to sleep with me. I wanted to sleep with them. But
that's a rationalization.
Why is that a rationalization?
These are the conversations we have every day, by the way.
They wanted to have intercourse. What was I going to do? I can't. I want to play stickball? I mean, come on.
No, but you could set better boundaries for yourself.
No, I was dating these women.
Richard, don't do it.
Oh, God. Just because you'd like to go to the zoo on Saturday, I like to go to the Ritz-Carlton with a model. What's the, back now I'm married and I have a great woman.
By the way, your wife is...
I've never met more honest women than at the bar at the Ritz-Carlton.
Any hotel. But I used to go to, like to go to motels.
Richard, I have to say,
my wife is
Richard,
17 years.
I have to say something, Richard. You're in the top 8. You're in the top 8 comedians that I've ever known, and I'm not going to tell you which number.
Oh, you don't have to say that. I don't even think I'm that low, but that's I don't care anymore. A high? Is that high?
Yeah, you could be 1.
No,
I gotta watch.
You can't
your ego.
put a number on.
I gotta watch the ego.
Although
you gotta watch the ego.
I just feel authentic that I unravel myself on stage, and if I don't, I feel like a failure.
I think it's incredible. I mean, I think that talent that to take your personality and then add such great writing to it, and then be able to reproduce that on stage with such energy. I've never seen anybody do that like you.
Well, but you ad-lib most of it, right?
About half the show.
Yeah. Does your wife like me because
she adores you?
Okay, good. We had breakfast
that I paid for, of course. He didn't. He was.
No way.
He put his hand in his wallet.
He had little alligator arms.
It was like Wyatt Earp with a stroke.
Wow.
Let me put it this way. I thought he had an
Irishman
book.
and a Jew walk in.
I thought the guy had.
There you go again.
The guy
keep the Jews and the Irish out
I
of
thought this guy's got an autograph book because he wanted me to sit with him so badly.
What are you going to go watch the History Channel later? It's
the Hitler Channel. Yeah.
He wanted me to eat with him so badly that I was forced.
We were just done. I couldn't wait to get home. It was 100 degrees. Hey, Pat, hey, I'll have toast. Then he orders something that takes this guy from Samoa 8 hours to make French toast. My wife looked at me like, we have to stay. I go, yeah, well, we love Pat, but we're there for an hour. It's 110 degrees. And this Samoan guy went, do you put egg on French toast or beans? And I kid the Samoans.
Oh, my God. By the way, if you have a problem or think you have a problem, call 855-800-8757. Andrew, those are our lines that are available 24 hours a day.
Absolutely.
And our number, you can finally remember this, 855-800-8757.
You guys are doing an amazing service on the air. I want to commend you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I've been getting that a lot lately. Seriously, a lot of people.
I mean it serious.
Come around and say, "Boy,
it's an important."
You know what it really is, though. It's the people that come in here like yourself that share stories that people wouldn't normally believe. Or they think it's like sort of like, oh, he's just bragging about being sober or whatever.
I'm not bragging about it at all.
No, but I'm saying like people like you.
But I'm not ashamed. I'm glad I'm a drunk because if I wasn't a drunk, I never would have changed into some of the better qualities that I have now as a person.
And the great thing about Richard Lewis is our guest, Andrew Spanzik, is here on Pat O'Brien. The great thing about recovery is Robert Downey Jr. said in a magazine article, by the way. He said, he missed the yoga class one day and 30 people showed up at his door, 12. And when I went down big, remember that? Richard was right there for me. And nobody ever says, what happened to you? They always say, welcome back.
I think I tried to reach out to you when I heard the news when you were in,
Nantucket.
So what? I do that a lot. We all do that now because people were breaking down my door and saying you're going to die. In fact, one of the great songwriters in America is J.D. Sauer that wrote.
Absolutely.
He wrote a lot of stuff for the Eagles and himself, and he's legendary.
Yeah.
And he came over my house. He saw me like, 120 pounds, my teeth, crystal meth, out of my mind. And he went home and he says I was going to die, and he gave me options of what to do. And then he wrote me this note. But the essence was, because I collect rock art and photographs, jazz artists, and everyone was pretty much dead on my walls. They were all OD'd. And he says, really seriously, he says, Richard, you don't have to check out the set now.
Yeah.
You're checking out now. It's way too soon. And that really...
That woke you up a little bit.
That woke me up a little bit.
Is Curb Your Enthusiasm ever going to come back?
I don't know. I don't ask Larry anything. I don't even talk about the menus when we go out to eat.
Well, that's not what I asked.
It's up to Larry. I know him
that's
for 60s.
That's not an answer. Do you think
I don't ask him.
Do you memorize the menus?
No.
Do you check for spelling errors?
We argue. All we do is argue.
Are you a spelling error?
All we do is argue. I love him like a brother.
I have a funny feeling that you check for spelling errors on menus. That's like one of your favorite things to do. Like, listen, you'll find omelet.
He wanted me to have dinner with him before. Okay, we go to this highfalutin place in Beverly Hills. Right. I get there early.
Yeah.
I said, when do you want to have dinner? He says 4:38, like a airport controller. I just had a hero sandwich, so I got it up to 5:15. I get there at 5 o'clock. I give the maitre d', Mr. David, I'm paying the check. I want to treat just because he's a mogul. Right. They start screaming at me. This place on, I think it was Wolfgang. So where it was a Chinese restaurant. What's the big Chinese restaurant in Beverly Hills?
It's not Wolfgang.
Mr. Chow's.
Mr. Chow's.
Yeah.
And then everyone comes in. No, Mr. David will go crazy. I don't care. What about me? I've been doing this 45 years.
I saw Larry.
Hold on. I'm paying the check.
You hold on.
He comes in an hour and a half late.
Right.
Okay. And I said, let's order like we used to when we were broke. You order beef. I'll order this. He says, no, don't embarrass the chef. Don't embarrass the chef. The chef comes out with 20 dishes. And we don't even talk, and the phone rings. It was comedian Steve Martin. He doesn't say goodbye. He says, oh, I forgot my poker game. Leaves me with 20 dishes and a $5,000 check. That's Larry David.
I went to a Laker game, and the girl I was with, the woman I was with, well, we saw Larry. Larry said, hi, Pat. I said, hi, Larry. And she says to him, I love you. And he said, you too? which I love.
He's beloved. He's
what I like, Richard, is that the common theme here is that you always pick up the check. So I think we should go to Mr. Pretzel's after the show.
I don't want any food. I'm just going to stop at the nearest takeout place.
Okay, we got 30 seconds left.
Thank
Richard,
you for having me. It was an honor.
You are a beacon of recovery. You are a beacon of a friend. And I love you very much, and you know that.
Buddy. And it's a pleasure to meet you.
Great to meet you, Richard.
It was great having you in here.
If I come back again, because I have a lot of stories to tell, maybe in a couple of months, maybe when the show wraps and I start touring, and I can tell some,
You're welcome.
It was the tip of the iceberg here.
I can't even imagine. We could probably do this for 5 hours.
You're welcome anytime. Andrew, I will see you whenever I see you. When do I see you again?
I'm going off to Budapest, so I will be back like the 20th.
What, to see a rock group?
No, I'm going to meet with the Prime Minister.
You're kidding?
No, and talk about.
You're meeting with Irving Schwartz?
Jeez.
It's Budapest.
Oh, I thought you were going to
that's it.
Brooklyn. I thought he was going to Brooklyn.
Thanks for joining us, Richard. Thank you, Andrew. I love you. I love you both. Thanks. Try to stay sober out there.
Keep
folks.
it simple.
Yep.
Don't let addiction to drugs or alcohol steal another year of your life. Clean Treatment Center provides world-class addiction assistance that also treats the underlying causes and provides vital aftercare so people can get clean and stay clean. Live, kind, professional help is standing by to provide immediate assistance or to simply answer questions and provide guidance. If you or someone you care about is suffering from addiction, take action now. Log on to cleantreatmentcenters.com. That's clean with a K.